Hi, I'm Olivia.
And I'm Amy.
And this is a Girls in Marketing podcast. Every week, we release a new episode that you won't want to miss. Our guests are industry experts with amazing experiences, so you'll always come away with new nuggets of wisdom. From educational and inspiring episodes covering the latest in digital marketing, to casual and fun chats with the Girls in Marketing team, unpacking marketing myths and trends, we've got it all.
Here at Girls in Marketing, we're all about empowering and supporting women to be the best marketers they can be through our online learning platform and community. Check out our resources and membership to get involved, as we'd love to welcome you to our inner circle.
Right, let's dive into an episode together. Before this episode starts, we wanted to send you an exclusive invitation to Girls in Marketing's upcoming EmpowerHER Series. To celebrate International Women's Day this year, we are dedicating an entire week of events to the power of women in the workforce. The theme this year is Embrace Equity, which is exactly what we'll be doing with this week-long series of events, starting from the 6th of March. If this sounds like something you'd love to come along to, it's completely free for you to attend. Either click the link in the description of this episode or just visit our website, girlsinmarketing.com, for more details. We can't wait to see you there. Hello and welcome back to the Girls in Marketing podcast. We're back with a much loved snack episode, and today we're chatting all about networking. Now, networking, it is one of those topics that I think everyone kind of just cringe, isn't it? You know, it's one of those things that I think as a professional we kind of have to, but it's not necessarily something that we all want to do. Yeah. So I thought it would be really great to kind of chat about it today and just discuss the good things, the bad things, the kind of good, the bad, the ugly, all related to networking. Because it's something that I think as a professional within the industry, you're going to go through at some point in your career. And obviously we're all kind of at different points as well. So I thought that would be interesting to talk about as well. Yeah. So what are our kind of initial thoughts on networking?
I mean, I feel like it's definitely really daunting. Well, to some people maybe it's not, but I think you're probably in the minority if you don't find it in some way a little bit intimidating, a little bit daunting, especially if you're new to it. But even now, where I'm at a point in my career that I'm not super really on, and networking isn't something that I'm unfamiliar with, I still will get those pre-networking event nerves sometimes, especially if it's with maybe a group of people that I've not met with before, or if I'm going on my own, or whatever it might be. Obviously, it depends on the setup as well. I think I feel a lot more relaxed in certain setups and certain environments than others. But yeah, it's quite daunting. But I think it's definitely not something that I put a lot of emphasis on in the beginning of my career. I wasn't kind of really into networking when I was starting out in marketing. It was something that I did kind of as part of my job. I'd do it through work, I'd attend networking events with work or that kind of thing, but it was never something that I took the initiative really to do on my own as an individual marketer particularly. But now I love it. I love networking, there's loads of different types of it, and I definitely think it's something that has been absolutely valuable in my career and something I really love to do now. I don't know about you, Kira, if you feel the same.
I think networking as a student is so scary. And I don't know, you said then a lot of the emphasis was kind of not put on at the start of your career, but I feel like for me, teachers, lecturers, whoever I've spoke to, network as much as you can. And I think that's kind of the advice that we give: network as much as you can, because it is a good thing, but it's also, if it is really, really, really scary to you, there's other ways of networking that aren't in person. There's other ways of getting around the in-person nerves. And I think that's something that I definitely didn't realise at the start, and something I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone this year to kind of go to them networking events. I've gone, I don't know about you guys, but I've gone to events on my own. I've gone to, definitely prefer them with people. But yeah, they are scary when you go on your own, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's weird though, isn't it? Because sometimes I feel like there've been events that I have gone to on my own, and although I go into it and I'm a little bit more kind of scared, I probably actually sometimes get more out of it, because you have to put yourself out there.
You're forced to.
Yeah, you have to kind of take the initiative to make those conversations and just like insert yourself in groups and things like that you don't have to do if you go with someone else, because they're kind of your comfort blanket. You can keep yourself with them, and maybe you don't get quite as much out of it. Obviously it depends on what you're actually aiming to get out of the networking event, to begin with. But I do think sometimes you don't realise how much maybe you're holding yourself back until you do something on your own and you're like, actually, you can get a lot more out of it. It's just a little bit scarier.
Yeah, I think the landscape has changed so much with networking since kind of like the dreaded COVID pandemic, because then it was a lot of in-person, and I know now we're at a point where it is a lot of in-person as well, but I think people are a lot more accustomed to like virtual stuff. And I think if you are at the beginning of your career, maybe like you said, Kira, it's less daunting to go on a Zoom because you can always turn your camera off if you don't want it on. Whereas when you're in a room full of people and you're talking to people, you've got to constantly be on, you've got to be smiling, you've got to be, oh, hi, how are you? Whereas if you're on a Zoom, as much as it's always good to have your camera on and to, chat with people, we have our regular virtual sessions within our membership, and sometimes people come and they don't have their camera on because they're not feeling it that day, and that's a great thing. You can still speak and be part of the conversation without your camera. And maybe if you are more of an anxious person, it's about trialing some virtual networking first. Maybe the first time you go, you don't put your camera on. Maybe the second time you put it on while you talk. Maybe the third time, you have it on the whole time. And then, by the fourth or fifth time, you'll be ready for an in-person event. I think sometimes people have to
take the little steps.
Take steps.
I think as well, like the type of networking event has a massive effect on how you feel. I know it does for me anyway. Like I know we're all kind of the same, and we're not like champagne flutes kind of girls. We're not stand there, we're just like the casual kind of networking. And I think that's kind of what we aim to do with like our meetups and stuff, isn't it? Like the casual networking, just make friends. It's not trying to get like proposals or like it's not all that. It might lead to that, but it's not initially going in with that. It's just making friends, casual.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously with our meetups that we do, like, the beginning of Girls in Marketing pre-COVID was very much to create a space for people, women in the marketing industry to like make friends, meet each other. That was the reason that you wanted to do it, wasn't it, Liv? It was something that you felt you wanted yourself. And obviously Girls in Marketing has grown massively since then, but that's still the core of what we want. It's a place to meet other marketers, whether, like you say, other opportunities, kind of, business opportunities or job opportunities or anything arise from the people that you know and you meet through those things, or whether it is just genuinely about making connections and friends.
I think there's something about not having that pressure, isn't there? Yeah. Like something about it purely just being like, if I make friends from this, I make friends from this, and if it leads to something else with other opportunities, job opportunities, then that's an added bonus, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like not going in with a kind of like an agenda.
Yeah.
Because I think it's great if you want to go to a networking event purely for that kind of like sales, lead gen type of thing, that's fine. And I would never say that that's a bad thing. But if you are like a marketer in a profession and you want to just widen your network with other people, just going in and saying, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like, as you say, if I make friends, I do. And if I don't, it's fine. Yeah. And half the time, I think if you put yourself out there and you put yourself in those positions, it's almost like a good thing, because people will come over to you, they'll chat to you and stuff like that, and it's nice to just talk to other people. When we did our meetup a while ago in Manchester, I seen so many people just relating to each other, like chatting to each other, saying, oh, I did this so and so campaign, and someone else was like, oh yeah, same. And I felt like obviously that was the reason I created Girls Marketing in the first place. But it's so nice because you've got that, especially with our meetups, you've got that one kind of core like similarity with people. And that sometimes I think why networking scared me, going into a room full of people that like I have no clue, I don't know who they are, but also like don't know what their interests are or where they work, and it's kind of that awkward small chit chat. I think that I've always been a bit anxious of. It's like,
small
hi,
talk.
how are you? Where do you work? What's your name? That I think scares people a lot. Whereas if you can go to a networking event that you know what it's going to be about, or maybe you go to a networking event that is related around similar interests, even if it's not a professional one, even if it's not something to do with marketing. It could be you're interested in fitness or something like that, and you go to something, maybe it's not networking in the same way, but it's still good to kind of put yourself out there in that position, and you know then what the kind of general vibe's going to be, whatever event you go to.
It's doing your research a bit as well in advance, isn't it? Because especially if you're going into it and you do feel a bit anxious, it's like exploring what the organisation is that's putting on the event. Have a look at ones they've done before. Get a bit of a sense of who they are as a brand, what they stand for. Because, you know, obviously if you were interested in, for example, and I'm obviously using us as an example because I know what we do, but, you know, we do meetups in person, and you could get a very good idea of what a Girls in Marketing meetup is likely to be like from our presence online, from what we speak about on our podcast, from, you know, being in our membership. You know the types of people that are probably going to be there. You know, you'll know if they're kind of like similar to you, if they share similar interests, because it'll be people who tend to interact with and vibe with us as a brand. So, you know, do your research, and that way you'll feel more confident that actually, if I'm a fan of this brand and I like what they talk about and what they stand for, the likelihood is the other people who go kind of will as well. So it's having that reassurance that the people are probably going to be on your wavelength. But I think the other thing is that networking's not necessarily just like an in-person or virtual thing, right? It could genuinely be building a network on a social media platform. You know, we talk quite a bit about LinkedIn, but it could be building your LinkedIn network. And that, in some ways, for a lot of people, is really daunting. But for others, it feels slightly less so, because it's you're putting yourself out there by posting and sharing stuff and commenting and engaging and connecting and all of that sort of thing. But you've got that comfort of being behind a screen, behind a platform, behind your account. And so it's maybe something like, if you're not quite ready to take that leap and go and start attending things in person, maybe start connecting with people on LinkedIn first, maybe people in your industry, people who live locally or whatever it might be. And then, or even if you're thinking about going to an event and you see someone signed up, connect with them, message them, see if they're going to be there. Yeah. Like, you know, introduce yourself into situations in that way so you feel more comfortable. But I've got quite a lot of people who work in the industry who, you know, some live in Liverpool, Manchester, some are wider afield. And I feel like I wouldn't necessarily say they're my friends, but I feel like I have, you know, semi-regular chats with them on like LinkedIn, or, you know, catch up with where they're up to, and, you know, stay up to date with their like career progression, what they're doing in their career and stuff like that. And there's been times where, you know, they've got involved with something that we're doing, or vice versa, just because we've got that connection that's like now quite long standing just through a LinkedIn network. We've never maybe met in person, but I've got this, you know, quite a nice community of people that, you know, some of them could turn into like opportunities working together and things like that. And otherwise it's just people who are doing a similar thing to you, are really supportive. And, you know, that's a network in itself, isn't it? Which isn't necessarily, you know, you've not got to get out of bed.
But I think something that, you know, obviously we talked about like student stuff before, Kieran, I know you've got like experience with this. So many people say about how valuable it is. Like, I know it's a daunting process as a student, but even you know how valuable it is as a student to network with people. And people of like different, you know, levels and ages and seniorities, from maybe even like a mentorship perspective. Being able to kind of like put yourself out there, chat to people, maybe get not necessarily even a formal mentor, just someone that you chat to every now and again that is, you know, a few years older than you or a bit more senior than you. I think that's nice, and that comes from networking. You know, obviously we said it's quite scary and that sort of thing, but actually there's so many benefits of networking that I think, because it's scary, your vision kind of gets clouded and you think, oh, I won't go because it's really scary. You know what I mean?
I remember when I was in sixth form, we went on to like a school trip, and it was like a conference day, and the teacher was like, challenge for you all, I'll give you like I think she said a free period if you like connect with someone on like LinkedIn. She probably shouldn't have been saying that in hindsight, but I proper like pushed myself that day, and I connected with someone on LinkedIn, and she worked in digital marketing. She actually had a degree apprenticeship at the time.
Oh wow.
And I remember connecting with her and like talking to her about like interviews that I was going to. Obviously, spoiler, didn't get a degree apprenticeship the generic way, but I just remember that being like, I can actually do that. People actually do want to talk to you and do want to give you advice, and that advice is there if you're willing to push yourself out there and take it, you know.
Yeah. Well, that kind of is a really good piece of advice. And I was going to say, for anyone listening who maybe is new to networking or maybe has done networking before but still just hasn't really found their groove with it, like what one piece of advice or two pieces of advice would you give to someone as like something that you've learned from being involved in doing networking, and that kind of makes it easier, takes away a bit of that fear?
Yeah. I think for me, it's definitely about like understanding the room. So I know you said earlier about understanding the brand that's putting it on.
Yeah.
I've been to networking events before that have been very formal, that have been that kind of like suited and booted and champagne and stuff like that. And sometimes you will have to go to those as a kind of like, let's go to these awards, for example, or let's go to these different things. And that's fine. But if you understand that that's what you're going into, then I think you can prepare yourself. I think for me, I'm not very naturally, like, I'm not that anxious as a person, but the thought of like that sort of event does actually make me quite anxious.
Yeah.
Whereas the thought of going in jeans and a t-shirt to like a really informal meet-up doesn't scare me as much. So I think it's about, before you put yourself out there and you decide, okay, I want to network, just do a bit of research first to know, you know, if you do turn up to a place and the dress code isn't how you want it to be or whatever. Some people might love that and that's fine, but it's just about understanding that first, I think, is a key thing, really. And I definitely recommend for people to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Kira?
Yeah, I think the advice I would give is that remember that people higher up were in your position once. People higher up in them levels of seniority were at this level you are right now, and do you want to help you, and do you want to kind of offer you that kind of networking advice or just generic advice. And yeah, people do actually want to talk to you, so yeah, just go for it, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. And I was kind of going to say something similar, but kind of a little bit different in the sense that I was going to say, just no matter how senior you get in your career, like some people will get really senior in their career and they still hate networking, or they're still really bad at networking. Just because you've got, you know, to a higher kind of position, you've progressed quite far in your marketing career or whatever, doesn't mean that you like all of a sudden you get to a certain level and you're like, I love networking and I am amazing at this.
All of a sudden one day.
Yeah, it's like, because you think that, you know, you get to a certain point and it's like, well, what have you got to be nervous about? Like surely you're confident because you've got to this point, and yet some people just don't like networking at all. So for me, it's like, remember that everyone could be feeling exactly the way you're feeling. And
everyone's bound to have nerves. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're not going into the room and going to everyone, I'm so nervous. So they're not going to be either. They're probably just feeling just as nervous as you. Yeah. So have something in mind, maybe that, you know, go in and set yourself a really small goal of saying, when I go in, I'm not just going to get a drink and stand on my own. I'm going to go and find a group of people and I'm going to go and insert myself into conversation, you know, start a conversation about a particular topic. And from that point, your nerves will really ease. It feels easier. Yeah. But yeah, just bear in mind, I mean, I say it all the time about all sorts of things, going to the gym, you know, doing anything new, you know, everybody's started where you are now, but also may still be feeling that way. So don't assume that everybody else loves it and is amazing at it and you're the only one who's nervous, because the chances are it's really not the case at all.
Yeah. And I would also say give yourself credit when you do the networking.
Little pat on the back.
Yeah, I know, little pat on the back, because I think it is a scary thing to do, and if you are kind of a person who gets more nervous about them things, then it is a big thing, and it might not be to someone else, but if it is to you, then you deserve the credit.
Yeah, absolutely. Set yourself some little networking goals. Tick them off. You really never know where it'll get you. You might make just a load of great friends in the marketing industry, or you might find your next 10 clients, you might find a new job. You just never know what value it could add.
Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of the Girls in Marketing podcast. We love hearing from you, so if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review to let us know your thoughts, and make sure you hit the subscribe or follow button to be the first to hear when our new episodes released. Don't forget, if you want to get involved with Girls in Marketing, check out our membership to join our incredible community of marketers. Think marketing resources, courses, webinars, and more. Find out more on our website or drop us a message on any of our social channels @Girls in Marketing.